In today's episode, we're going to talk about what LegalShield and IDShield is and why you need it, and especially when you're buying or selling a home. Am I awake or am I dreaming? Hey friends, for this week's episode, I've got a special co-host, Matt Susi, who's a realtor out in Columbus, Ohio. Matt and I actually had the pleasure of meeting just this last October at a real estate summit. So Matt, thanks so much for joining us today. How you doing?
Yeah. Good. Thanks for having me on, May. It's fantastic. And yeah, just to expand a little bit on that, we actually met at our real estate coaches summit. I think, was it in October?
I believe so. It was around because it was my birthday, October 30th, when we had that gala, right?
That's right. Actually, we were at the VIP dinner, I remember. Mm-hmm. And, we kind of knew each other from the Facebook group and whatnot. But you're like, hey, Matt, what did you do before this? I'm like, oh, I was a flight attendant. And you're like, no way, I was too.
Yeah, so, destiny. So jumping in to today's video, let's see, how should we start, Matt? Should I just
I know we were going back and forth, like, how do we start the video? What can we talk about? And we were actually, had a couple great topics. But actually, so I was telling you how much you've helped me with my social media and YouTube. And I actually called you out of the blue one day and I said, I remember we spoke on the phone and you said something about, or we were talking about home warranties. That's what it was. And you told me about a problem you had with one company, and you said something about LegalShield. And I said, well, tell me more about that LegalShield thing, because I have some clients that had a need for it. And you're like, you told me a little bit about it. I'm like, oh my God, why didn't I have this like yesterday?
Right.
So for those that don't know what LegalShield is, I mean, maybe can we go over like a high level overview of LegalShield?
So my favorite analogy for what LegalShield is, it's a very similar to concept of health insurance, right? Not everybody has health insurance. However, when you need it, you really wish you did, because most folks that do not have health coverage wait until it's a 911 emergency to ever go to the doctor. And that's often when it's too late. So that's unfortunately what the legal system is like in our country, is people don't know their legal rights, first of all. And they often feel that they cannot afford an attorney because there's a retainer of typically minimum $500 even to speak to an attorney. So that reserves the attorneys really for the wealthy, right? And unfortunately, the average person has opportunities to leverage coverage such as LegalShield. So LegalShield is basically legal coverage, giving you affordable access to attorneys. And every state here in the United States, so all 50 states, have a provider law firm that you get assigned when you become a LegalShield member. And then also all Canadian provinces. So what I really like about it is when traveling or taking a road trip, especially you mentioned you've been traveling a lot by car, know that you can actually tap into your LegalShield membership if you had an issue on the road or some type of dispute you need to handle in another state, like perhaps a rental property. You'll actually get a referral to that other provider law firm and still use your membership. So for me and my business as a real estate agent, it's been a no-brainer. And especially since I work with a lot of investors that invest in multiple marketplaces. So that's basically a high level. It's legal coverage, affordable access to attorneys. You can actually call unlimited pretty much for any personal matter. Let's say, I'll share a personal experience. I had a next door neighbor when I was still living in Florida. We were replacing our backyard fence, which you think would be pretty simple, right? You have to get the permit from the city. It was the city of Pompano Beach. We went through that only to discover that the fence line actually was, let me see if I can explain. It was an encroachment. So what happened was our next door neighbor's bushes were pushing against the fence, where now the fence, let me think. Our fence was pushed into our property line. And so there was couple inches or whatever that was now on their property. Does that make sense? Because of their bushes pushing against the fence.
Yep.
Right. So I got in an argument with that property owner because we wanted to replace the fence, and their fence, which was a chain link fence, was now on our property. Okay. And so we wanted to replace get rid of that chain link fence and put a new one, which was one of those nice looking white PVC, very durable fences. And the guy refused. And he's like, I'm going to call the cops. I'm going to call 911 if you dare touch my fence. I'm like, it's on our property at this point, buddy. Like, so of course,
it's an ugly chain link fence.
Oh, it got worse because, not to talk ill of anybody. However, they had, on our side of the fence, the previous owner had put like green metal, guards, like a fourth of the way down. I'm not sure why, which you could tell somebody had a lawnmower and it like started to eat at it, like disintegrate that. And so it looked like crap, to be honest. It looked horrible. It was in really bad shape. And it was an eyesore. So, and as we know, as real estate agents, that could impact perceived value of a property, right? Is if it doesn't look like it's in good shape.
So you had LegalShield at this point.
Oh, yes. So I've had LegalShield pretty much since 2011. However, I never took it seriously until I was in real estate, knowing how I could take it and benefit from it. So, and just as a personal experience, so with that one, I contacted LegalShield, spoke to an attorney same day. They call back within 4 business hours. And I was talking to them, hey, so my neighbor is threatening to call the cops. Like, what are my legal rights in this situation? Can I proceed or what can I do? And so they were able to advise me on that, so that I make sure that I don't screw myself up. Right. It ended up being, we were able to proceed and just to get things done because we ended up selling so quickly. We just went ahead and built our fence and pushed theirs back into their land. So that's how it worked with that. And sorry, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to show everyone, maybe you can't see it with my background, but there's an app and you can literally talk to somebody just by pressing a button. So that's how convenient it is.
Right. And in that app, there's actually 24/7 emergency access. So let's say that you get pulled over after business hours, it's your right, Miranda rights to be able to call an attorney. So you actually can call after hours and speak to the on-call attorney to have somebody at your side if you need it. So I've never heard of that ability. And because there's other plans out there. Actually, as an American Airlines flight attendant, we had a similar program where they would help you, draft a will, or, if you had a big legal concern, you could consult with an attorney at a discount. However, they didn't have anything like this where you could call at the drop of a hat for an emergency situation. So that one's a really big deal. Or let's say, you're getting in a dispute regarding, your children, maybe you're going through a nasty divorce, things like that. And so when I realized that this legal coverage was incredible and where it really impacted my life was in 2018. I was a tenant actually in Miami, and I was still new to the area. I was a flight attendant. This was before I got into real estate as an agent, before I bought my house actually. And, I think the typical thing for most people is when they have issues, they go to attorneygoogle.com and they start looking at, DIY stuff. And that was me, right? So I had 3 months left to my lease and I was in the process of buying a home. I had not expected to find a home so quickly that I knew if I waited, I could miss my opportunity, because it was one of those things where my pre-approval was such and I needed an exact property type to qualify. And I found the needle in the haystack. And so I didn't want to miss my opportunity. And so, I was complaining with my mom, who's been a LegalShield member, just as long. And she's a really smart lady, reminding me, why don't you call LegalShield? And I was like, what are they going to do? So I thought, I have nothing to lose at this point, because in attempting to negotiate with my property manager who worked with the landlord, they were telling me, no, there's no way you can get out of your lease. You're going to be held liable for the remaining 3 months. Plus, we're going to keep your security deposit. That was a lot of money.
Oh my gosh.
Considering that, I wasn't making a lot of money as a flight attendant, and I needed every penny I could to scrape together for my down payment and closing costs. Right. So already, I was worried about this. And if I had to lose money, then that was going to be a really big deal to me. And of course, if I refused to pay it, they could put it on my credit history. or it could really bite me later down the line. So I called LegalShield. And the cool thing about when you're a member with LegalShield is you speak to a receptionist, they create an intake for you. And then within 4 business hours, an attorney that specializes in that particular law, so in my case, it was landlord-tenant law, called me back. I was able to send her my lease contract. She reviewed it. She got back to me a few days later and said, okay, this is the point. I can't remember exactly how she said it. However, she said there's a clause in my contract that said that they have to make a reasonable attempt to fill my space. And if they are capable, or if they're able to do so, I'm released of liability from the remaining 3 months. And because they're as long as there's no damages to the property, they would refund me my security deposit. Okay, so that's basically 4 months worth of rent that I was attempting to get out of, right?
Yeah.
And so she told me this, and she said, now, can you get proof that they've filled your space? By then I'd already moved out. And I'm like, well, how can I get proof? You know what I mean? So I was like, let me just drive over there. And so I drove over there. I remember it was pouring rain, and Felipe, my significant other, we went over and knocked on the door with the unit number and everything. And we
Of course you did.
That's hilarious. And because there was a car outside, it was a duplex, and a lady opens the door in her towel.
Oh my gosh.
Now, what do you think I did at that point?
I have no idea.
Whipped out my phone, snapped a photo, with the unit number and everything. And I sent that to my attorney. And she included that with a cease and desist letter to the property management company, basically, because imagine most tenants are not able to afford an attorney, right? Yeah. So they would have just taken advantage of, have it on their credit history, or pay that money when they really should have had that money because the landlord was doing something illegal. It's called double dipping. So not only would I have had to pay that, now they're also collecting rent.
Oh, geez.
Which is a common practice in South Florida and other marketplaces too. So I call that, situation, I was a slumlord landlord, unfortunately. And of course I stood up for myself and my legal rights. I wouldn't have been able to do that without the attorney because I didn't know my legal rights. There's so many laws and statutes to be aware of. So as soon as I sent that over, the property management company, who up until that point had been telling me, no, that's still vacant. There's nobody there. And maybe that was the landlord lying to the property management company. Who knows? Because the landlord could have found somebody on their own. However, of course, at that point, they were extremely apologetic. Oh, we didn't know. Where can we send you your security deposit? Which, let me back up. They actually, at first, when they told me before I got the attorney involved, I at first was going to take a loss before I decided to call LegalShield because I thought, oh, whatever, I'll just lose my security deposit. I mean, that's it, right? That seems fair because I'm inconveniencing them. Well, not only did they want me to pay the remaining 3 months and keep my security deposit, they were also charging me for damages, which didn't exist.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and I spoke to the attorney about this, and she said what they're claiming to be damages is considered legally as normal wear and tear, reasonable wear and tear. And it's unlawful for them to charge that to you, basically. I'm no attorney. So, of course, guys, please, always do your due diligence when I'm saying. This was in 2018 in Florida, specifically in Miami-Dade County.
So they were just trying to take advantage of the situation. And
yeah, because most people don't know their legal rights.
Right.
And so that's what upset me, to then talk to my mom, to then talk to LegalShield and get them involved. So that alone, that issue saved me $3,900, all for the cost of a monthly, membership of having LegalShield. So, sorry, go ahead.
So what do you think it maybe would have cost you to go out on your own, hire a lawyer without LegalShield involved? What do you think that would have cost?
I would have been lucky for it to cost probably $3,000. So that's the thing is, most people that don't have something like LegalShield, if you pay an attorney the traditional way, I believe most retainers are about $500. So at that point, people have to make a decision. Well, I could end up spending more money than if I just dealt with it on my own. So I don't want to take that risk and be in the hole further. So that's why I love having this coverage, because there will be times where there's not much that I could do, like in the situation with my backyard fence. However, now I know so that I don't screw myself up by touching the owner's property on my property, right? So at least I can get advice before I make a decision. However, in a case like this, where, I was being taken advantage of for, rent and whatnot, it was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
So, and because I've had my membership for years now, my monthly cost, let's see, I believe it's $25 a month. Right now, I want to say it's still under $30 in most states. So if you do the math, you do the math, that paid for my membership for years to come. It's an asset really to me. And let's see. So that was one situation. Then with the home warranty, did I share that story with you?
Yeah. Well, can I interrupt real quick? I'm curious because what I actually, I have friends that I sold a condo to, and I don't want to get into too much detail, but they're running into an HOA dispute. The other side's not paying their HOA dues, and they have a situation on their hands. So now I understand that they don't cover pre-existing conditions. Is that right?
You can still get advice on pre-existing conditions. However, if you want to actually get their representation, it's subject to the discount option, typically.
Okay. And what's that?
25% discount that you get with pre-existing conditions.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. So still, it can save you quite a bit of money, even on those instances. And some attorneys, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just saying I think even just getting the discount after that situation is cleared, just having this in place forever is just a smart move, because you never know, like you said, what you're going to run into. You've already used it a few times. I actually am brand new. I think I've only had it for a month now. But there's so much that I can do. I can make my will. And God forbid, if I need it for something else, at least I'm covered here on out. So
absolutely. Yeah. And definitely, at least as soon as you become a member, update your will right away and know that you can do it as part of your coverage for free annually. Because things will change, you acquire properties, or you sell properties, or you have a new child, or you get married. There will be changes in life that you want to make sure you have that updated.
Yeah. So, I think, if you're renting or if you're a homeowner, I think it's a fantastic idea. Just think like if a friend came in and, God forbid, got hurt and was trying to sue you, you at least want to have somebody on your side, where, or even in a renting situation like you gave, it's so cheap that it's going to be worth it. Definitely.
And it doesn't stop with your personal coverage either. So I briefly mentioned before, if you're an investor, you have rental properties, I highly encourage you consider adding the Homebased supplement, because that covers up to 10 rental units. Or if you run a business out of your home, like myself as a real estate agent, I have that coverage. Or a lot of, home-based businesses these days, you might want to consider if you need legal advice, because the individual or family coverage is going to handle your personal matters and your primary residence. However, if you have rental properties, it's definitely something to consider. Let's say if you as a landlord get into a dispute with a tenant, you're definitely going to want access to that. And it's very, very affordable. And then if you have more of a, sophisticated operation as a small business owner, perhaps you run a restaurant, or like my mom, she actually owned an adult family home, which is what here in Washington state is like an assisted living facility. And there's a lot of liability when you run a business like that, as you can imagine. And one particular case, they worked a lot with referral agencies. And my mom was about to be taken advantage of by one of these agencies that wanted to charge a 120% referral fee to her. And they basically gave her a client that was diagnosed to pass almost immediately after they received this client. So it would put them in the hole. It was thousands of dollars. So naturally, my mom, in addition to having personal coverage, had the small business coverage as well. So she has two coverage plans, and she was able to talk to an attorney that would specialize in that. And they reviewed her contract and found that there was a lot of holes that she was able to get out of that situation. So she didn't have to pay that high referral fee. So, it's very robust. And so,
Yeah.
sorry.
And I was actually, no, sorry to interrupt. I actually just pulled up the website. Personal and family coverage starts at $29.95.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not per person. I mean, that includes an entire family, right?
Absolutely. So your spouse or domestic partner, and then your dependents, I believe it's up to 26 years old living at home, or if they're still in college or in school. Yeah. So
Wow.
the whole family could be covered for that one membership alone. So it's
Yeah.
really, really great.
And there's other things like you were saying, the home business supplement, which I have.
Mm-hmm.
If you did ride share, you could also include that. And then if
Mm-hmm.
you're a gun owner, you can even do the gun owner supplement. So that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to taking advantage of the features that,
Mm-hmm.
such as the will. I mean, that's the first thing I need to do. Ashamedly, I haven't even done one yet, but yeah, definitely that I should definitely do that.
Mm-hmm. And they make it easy. You could just go onto the mobile app or on your desktop onto the website and put in the inquiry to start your will, and either have a call back that same day within 4 business hours, depending on what time of day it is, or you can schedule the call, which is also, that's a recent add-on, because as real estate agents, we know our schedule is quite busy. We want to make sure we get that call so we get it done, right? So definitely utilize those features. And then there was something else. IDShield. So this day and age, especially if you have social media accounts, I know, and you just went through it with your Facebook, right? So yeah, it's tough for us, running a business where our reputation matters a lot. Or let's say, you may be applying for jobs. You're not in real estate. However, you want to make sure that your reputation online is of a certain caliber, perhaps. They offer IDShield. It would be an added coverage to you. I think it's definitely worthwhile. You can have all 3 credit bureaus being monitored at the same time. And if your accounts are hacked, whether, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, let's see, I think Twitter as well as the other one, you actually have coverage. You get assigned a private investigator and things like that. It's actually the recovery. So, and another thing, which is great if you're moving to a new area or you're just buying a house, is you also get notifications if anyone of interest moves into the area, such as sex offenders. So if you have kids and you want to be aware of that, that's a great thing to know, that you can have that peace of mind. So I always encourage, if you want to be at your safest, it definitely makes sense to have the family LegalShield plan and the IDShield plan, for sure.
Yep. Yeah, that sounds great. I didn't know about the IDShield, but that's phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
May, if somebody wants to sign up, they think that it's valuable, just like you and I do, where would they go to sign up, and how do they get started?
Great question. So I am a LegalShield associate, so they could go to my website, and we'll put it in the description of today's video. It would be my first name, M like Mary, E-I, my last name, SCHULZ, 13.wearelegalshield.com. If you have questions, you can get with Matt or myself, and I'm always here to answer those questions. But take a look at the website. You'll see that there's way more features we didn't have time to cover today. Whether or not you're buying or selling in real estate, with even traffic tickets, we didn't get into that. So just really trivial.
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you get a traffic ticket, of course, LegalShield is not able to help you break the law. However, they can inform you of your rights and make sure that you're handling it to the best of your ability. If it means not getting points on your license, things like that. Let's see. And another thing is cell phone carriers. Let's say that your cell phone carrier, T-Mobile, not to say any names, is erroneously charging you, or they said that they were going to drop off something from your bill, yet they're still charging you months on end. That's something that you could leverage LegalShield for to make sure that they rectify that. Because imagine what it sounds like, if you just call up the cell phone carrier yourself and, demand to speak to a supervisor, versus you're like, well, let me get my attorney involved. You get the big guns out. So that's, highly encouraged to use it whenever possible.
Excellent. Phenomenal. So thank you, May, so much for going over these amazing features with LegalShield. Is there anything else that maybe we missed?
And yeah, guys, if you have any questions about LegalShield or IDShield, or you just want more information, I am a LegalShield associate. I'm going to put it in the show notes from today, the website you can check out, as well as a couple of PDFs. If you're buying or selling in real estate, there's some great information on one of the pamphlets, or if you just want generic information, you're thinking about getting this coverage. So I'll put that in the show notes. It's my first name, MEI, then my last name, SCHULZ13, it's my lucky number, .wearelegalshield.com. And again, it's in the show notes. If you have any questions about this, I think you'll be very pleased. It's a no-brainer. So, and Matt, let me ask you, how can, if anybody wants to get in touch with you in terms of real estate in Columbus, how would you recommend they get in touch with you?
Yeah, I mean, you could text or call me, 614-772-2947. Or Matthew.Susi@EXP Realty.
Awesome. And then let's also, in the show notes, we're going to put your YouTube channel. So if you guys have any questions in terms of, real estate tips and tricks as well in the Columbus, Ohio area, right?
Yep. Perfect.
Cool. All right. Thanks so much. And I'm sure this will be the first of many videos we do together.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Thanks, May.
Thank you. And guys, feel free to leave a comment in the notes if you had any particular questions about LegalShield, IDShield, or real estate in general, whether in Seattle, Washington, South Florida, or Columbus, Ohio. We're happy to get those questions answered for you. So please like, subscribe, and don't forget to share this video with others. Thanks so much.
You're like a circle that floats around.